What's good, y'all? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0, keeping the action going with the Toybiz Clobber and Crush thing from Fantastic Four, the 2005 film. Alright, so hopefully you've seen my first look video so you can see this guy in the packaging and all the details. I've got the read up of him on that video, so make sure you go ahead and watch that. But yeah, I finally got this guy out the packaging, played around with him a little bit, and he is a very solid figure. No pun intended, but yes, he is a solid figure. Pretty nice, or at least decent articulation for the time. He is a pretty hefty figure too. He definitely has like some nice solid weight to him. A lot of that is due to the gimmick that he comes with. Unfortunately, yes, he does have a gimmick, but it isn't too bad. It actually doesn't hinder too much of his articulation. He actually can still, articulate pretty well on both sides of his body, so that is pretty nice to see. And obviously Toybiz did a fantastic job with the sculpt and detail on him. He really does look like pulled straight out of the movie. I was more of a fan of, I want to say it was the Wave 1 release at first. The one where, that one also has a gimmick. It's called the Stomping Clobber thing. And so he has like a voice box on his back on that version, and I think it's like every time you put his feet down, it sounds like he's, stomping on the ground, like you hear that sound. And he's got like a similar articulation style from this guy. He does have like a diaphragm cut like this guy, so I think he can rotate in the diaphragm. But yeah, I felt like I liked the face sculpt on that one a little bit more. It just looked a little more serious and more, stern, more like, like he's about to get down to business. Excuse me. Whereas this one, it's like he's kind of like doing like a smirk or something. And at first I didn't really like, the sculpt of like how the teeth looked on this one. I don't know. I just felt like it looked a little bit goofy. Not quite what I was looking for, for his expression. But after I got it out the package and actually like handled it in person, I started, it grew on me. I actually do kind of like it now. I've only found one version of him out there that is like fully, that's like articulated and doesn't have any like real gimmicks on it. And it was a version that I had overlooked for a long time. I think it's called like the Raging Thing figure, and it comes with a Mr. Fantastic. And the Mr. Fantastic figure is kind of just like it's more of like a display piece. Like it's super stretched out and it's rubbery and you can like, bend it around, but it's really just meant to recreate the scene in the movie where Reed is trying to get, Ben under control, and he like wraps around him. He's like stretched out. He's got his arms like all, so that Ben can't move or whatever. But I really, really like how Toybiz handled that particular thing, because I watched a review on it, and he actually does have like pretty decent articulation. And the sculpt of the face, I think, is actually my favorite. He looks like a nice, like angry thing, He's got like an angry expression on his face, and there's no annoying pieces sticking out of him like this one. This one has this big old, button on the back sticking out of his back, so that looks really weird, right? I would probably never have him displayed like this just because of this button would be so unsightly. But on that version, there's like nothing sticking out of his back. It's just pure sculpt, and it looks really, really good. So I think that might be the next one that I get within this, movie line, and that might end up being like my definitive one. But yeah, I mean, for right now, this one is actually really, really cool. So, let's go ahead and get into play and display, and then we will take a closer look at his details and whatnot. All right, so starting off with the head sculpt, he can look up about that much. That's pretty good range, pretty good looking up there. Very high. He can look down pretty far as well. If I really push it and go about that far down, which is, yeah, pretty decent. A little better than, just looking straight on the head. He can rotate his head side to side. It is a bit stiff, so be aware of that. But he can look side to side. He can actually rotate 360 if you really push it. Just like that. No real tilting or anything in the head. The arms are on a ball joint, So, ball and hinge joint, they can come out to pretty much like a 90 degrees. Try to get it on both sides so you can see that. Yeah, so you can pretty much hit like a nice solid T-pose. And, the arms don't really go any higher than that, but I don't think you really would need them to for this guy. And then back down by his sides, they come down pretty far. I like that. They actually come down very nicely by his sides, especially with him being such a big figure. If this was a Hasbro figure, we probably wouldn't be able to achieve such like a straight down look for the arms for such a big character, but I like that Toybiz gave us that range to make him look like more natural, right, in a neutral pose. And then you can windmill the arm 360. So you can hear it's ratcheted, so you can hear all that clicking. Because again, he does have the gimmick, but yeah, arms on both sides can spin 360. It is going to click, especially on his right arm. It's got, that's I think that's where the gimmick is mostly meant to work, or is it his left? So he kind of has like a double gimmick. So the back of the box was showing his right arm being able to do a motion where basically you pull the arm, you have the arm up like this first, and then you pull it down, and he kind of does like an uppercut motion, like boom, pow, pow, right? Big old uppercut motion like that, because it'll spring up. But then you can also, push it down, it'll click into place with a ratchet. So if you want it like down by his sides, you can kind of find like that midway point, and it'll stay like that. And then for his left arm, this is like the main gimmick for like what it's advertised for, is like the crushing motion, for that car that we'll see in a second here. But for that smashing motion, you push the button and he's gonna basically like smash down like that, boom, boom, boom. So yeah, so this is one of those gimmicks that I think actually like works for him pretty well. It doesn't, disrupt the sculpt too much, which is nice. Only really in the back, just this button sticking out, and then the articulation isn't really hindered by it. So that's why I like this guy. And then he has the diaphragm joint, and the big diaphragm cut there. It does get pretty gappy when you try to like move him back. Like he literally looks like two separate pieces, like from upper torso to lower. You get this big ugly gap right there when you kind of try to move him back. You can actually kind of see the joint in there, so that's it's a little bit ugly. There's a big cavity right there, but that's really just because of like the whole joint system, the engineering they had to do. But yeah, you can like kind of lean him side to side, so that's nice. Even though it doesn't look the best, but at least he gets that range. And then you can also kind of twist a little bit from that upper diaphragm, just a little bit to each side. But if you want to get more twists, thankfully he has a waist twist, right? So you can actually rotate at the waist a full 360 like so. And then he does have a bicep swivel in the arms. It is pretty stiff again, so be careful with that. But it does rotate. One thing I want to mention is that he was, like, at least in the arms, like arm and a little bit of the torso area, when I first got him out the package, he was a little bit sticky, so I had to like wipe him down with a clean wipe, and that seemed to get rid of like most of the stickiness on him, so that's good. So just be aware that might be a thing with your figure. I guess with this old plastic, maybe it got some kind of like sticky residue over time, maybe as the plastic kind of wore down, I don't know. But yeah, bicep swivel on each side. So it is functional on each side, despite him having the gimmick. So that is really nice. Bicep swivel. He does have a single jointed elbow. All right, so you are able to get at least about a 90-degree angle out of the elbow. So that's pretty nice. And then he does have a hinge in the hands, a horizontal hinge, so he can move his fist, inward towards the body, away from the body like that. And same thing on the other side. He doesn't have a fist hand on this side. It's more of like a kind of open, almost like grabbing hand. But yeah, he can do the same motion on that side. And I like that they gave him 4 fingers, because that is accurate to the comics and the movie. So yeah, when he becomes a thing, he actually like loses a finger for some reason. Or maybe 2 of his fingers get fused together. I don't know how that works, but yeah, he's only got 4 fingers. So that's good attention to detail on Toybiz's part. And then we have the awesome, blue suit. He's only got the pants, obviously. He's not in a full body suit, but He's got the pants. He got the very nice 4 logo. You can see it is in a nice, thicker 4. The lines for the 4 are thick, kind of like Mr. Fantastic. Whereas Johnny and Sue's, as we saw, were like pretty thin lines for the 4. So I like that his is thick. It stands out. It's bold. Very nice clean paint work there for the 4. The white paint surrounding it in the circle. And then, the black going across for like kind of like a belt piece. Very nice, textured detail in there too. Like the wrinkles, the sculpt of the wrinkles, the black wash going throughout the blue. Very nice sculpt for the thighs. Very nice, muscular, heroic thighs. And, lower calf design. Just a really nice sculpt overall for this figure, man. But yeah, as far as coming to the legs articulation, he can actually kick forward decently far, like it's a little bit shy of a 90-degree angle, but for him being so beefy, I think that's still like really nice range. That's pretty good. I wasn't even expecting him to go that high, to be honest. And then if you kick it back, he actually gets pretty decent going back as well too. If you really push it, he gets about the same as like a lot of Hasbro figures, so that's pretty nice to see. And he does have a thigh swivel. So nice thigh swivel cut below the ball joint. That is really nice. Get some rotation in the thighs. You have double jointed knees that allow him to get a really nice bend to, almost his lower back. So that's pretty good, especially for him being, again, so like meaty. He does have a pretty good, decent range there. Get that back down. Very tight joints on this guy, so just be aware of that. All around, his joints are like very stiff. You kind of have to like break them in. No boot rotation, but he does have a hinge in the foot. The foot does hinge all the way down pretty much to the tippy toes. You can kick it up about that far, which is nice. And then you get a little bit of a ankle rocker or pivot, so that's nice. And believe it or not, he can actually do really good splits. So you can do like pretty much perfect, as they say, Van Damme splits. All right. So almost pretty much like a perfect 180-degree splits. He's actually able to achieve that. So that's pretty crazy. And that's because of the way they designed his leg joints, which I actually like. I think, Hasbro would benefit from doing like the bigger, more muscly characters. They should definitely design the legs like this, where you have like the big ball joints and then, have the thigh cut and like the quads, everything like lower. So that way there's no hindrance, in between like here and here. So you get like all this space for the range to kind of, kick that out. So that worked out really well. So I think Toybiz did a solid design for him. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for his articulation. But I think that's pretty fair, that's standard fare for a guy like this, a bigger guy. He's actually able to still achieve a lot of really nice poses, even with the gimmick. So that's dope. Now let's take a closer look at him real quick. I'll put his arms down, try to find that midpoint. All right, there we go. Yeah, get him kind of by his side. So taking a closer look here, you can see the face sculpt is actually pretty nice. His what do you call it, eyebrows actually do protrude like more than I thought they would, because in the movie it didn't really seem like they protruded that far out. But I guess, I don't know, like at least with the sculpt of the toy, it's almost like his eyes are like hidden under there, like it's like a real cavity for his eyes. It seems almost like even more so than the movie. It's like they were trying to get more of that comic kind of touch to the face sculpt on this one, which is very reminiscent in the new thing, live action thing from the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. It definitely has like the comic style type of face, so the very protruded arch eyebrows and everything. That was more apparent on the newer live action thing, but it's cool that they have that kind of put into this figure as well. Yeah, you can see his eyes in there. They're very nicely painted, especially for, again, not having face printing technology at the time. They had to like sculpt and paint that in. Pretty clean sculpt. You can see the blue of his eyes and the iris of his eyes. That is pretty nicely done. You can see his teeth in there, and his smile or grimace, whatever you want to call that. Very nice rocky sculpt and texture for his face and throughout the entire body, really. Very nice brown, yellowish washes. Orange for the color of his skin. He seems to have a lot of like that kind of like lighter yellow color. It's like they did like a heavy wash from his biceps into his forearms and down to the fists. They put a lot of that like yellow color in there. And at certain angles, it may seem like kind of a lot. It might kind of stick out, but from a distance, it works really well. It actually blends in like pretty well with the rest of his body. It's not too noticeable. But yeah, that's just a detail I wanted to point out, that they kind of put like a heavier yellow wash from like the biceps down. But yeah, I mean, it still looks really, really solid, man. I love the sculpt in this guy. It really does capture the movie look for the most part. Nice broad chest and torso and everything. He's a big guy. No real like ab muscles or anything sculpted, which I like. I think that's more suited for. I mean, you could even argue that like with a comic figure, you don't necessarily need like the like abs sculpted in for the thing, because he's like all rocks. So the rocks really just cover up like all his muscles, even though you can still see like the definition. But I think just having like a more like flat stomach look with like all the rocks kind of built in, I think that's actually a better look for this guy. Gives him some differentiation from most of like the sculpted comic characters that we see. And yeah, it just looks really good. I mean, all around 360. Really nice sculpt and paint work and detail on this guy. Very, very nicely done. You even got some, wrinkles sculpted in the back of his pants. And just the washes that bring out like the musculature. Really, really nice sculpt, man. Very nice. Nice, imposing, very, big, broad shouldered thing figure here. So I really, really like that. And yeah, it's just a pretty nice figure overall. So, moving him aside, we'll take a look at the crushed car that he comes with. This is Johnny's sports car that got trashed at the that little motocross event that he was doing. But yeah, really nice detail on this too. I would definitely say it's probably not to scale, but it is pretty nicely done nevertheless. So you got these silver paint details right here on the sides. You got this black in the middle for like the grill of the car, the front, and the silver paint right there, and then all this crushed up metal, right? This red metal all squished and just demolished. The thing absolutely went to town on this thing and just destroyed it. And you got the license plate. This is a nice touch. The license plate right there on the back, it says torched, and it says New York in there too at the top. So that's really nice. But yeah, how this works is basically you can pull it out, extend it like that, and so that it's like fully extended. And then this part in the middle is actually like a soft, like it's almost like a bag type of material, like a soft plastic bag or something. And it actually squishes in, so you can use this button on the back here, and you press that. Watch, I'll show you. Like this, you press that button, and the car compresses like that, so it squishes in, and then you can have the thing, just look like he's going to town on it and crushing it into a giant ball. All right, he's pulling up on Johnny like, oh, you wanna make fun of me on live TV, huh? I'll show you who's the boss around here. And yep, he trashed this car, but this is a really nice accessory, and this is the type of thing that only Toybiz did, man. Like with these Toybiz, and I would say like Marvel Select or Diamond Select figures, they give you like full scale accessories like this. That stuff that you would normally see like in a base or like a diorama, you get things like this. So that's really, really cool. Hasbro definitely wouldn't give us, all of this with just like a standard figure. Maybe like a deluxe or something, but even then, that's like rare, hard to come by. But yeah, really, really nice, sculpt on the crushed car. I think maybe a little more wash into it would have went a long way. I think they could have like made the damage details and everything look a little better if they put like a black wash or something in there. But even as is, it does look really good. This crushed up piece of junk now. And then on the bottom you can see it says FF, copyright 2005, Marvel, made in China, Toybiz WW, worldwide. So yeah, there you go. There's your crushed up car. So if you want to see the gimmick one more time, you stretch it out, right? Nice squishy plastic center right there. You press that button, boom, collapses. So there you go. There is the collapsing car that comes with the thing. But enough about the car. Let's go ahead and get the thing on the rotating display stand. Take one last close-up look at him, and then we will get into some size comparisons. All right. So here we are. Let's make sure he's got a nice flat stance here. But it's nice that he can actually stand up pretty well on his own too. He's got, again, a very good weight to him. He's pretty well balanced once you get him on his feet and find that, that good balance. He is able to stand up pretty well, doesn't fall over or anything, so that's nice. But yeah, let's see him on the display stand, a little rotation. All right, so there he is front to back so that you can get a nice full 360 view on him. And again, just very, very immaculate detail work and paint work. It looks like they did dry brushing for like the yellow washes like across his body. You have like the base like orangish brown color, and then you have like the yellow dry brushing, I want to say, on top, and it just gives him a really, really nice movie accurate look, and just very, very nice sculpt all around on this figure. Toybiz never skimped out with the details, so that is really, really just a great thing to see. And yeah. So, I tried to get all of these guys in their packaging because as a collector, I do really appreciate having good original packaging, especially in case I want to pack the figure away later on. If I have to move it somewhere, I like to have it in the original packaging. And again, it's nice that Toybiz gave us, such a big clamshell for those that like to, display on card or in box. These are like really good packages to do that because, you get a nice full view window in there to see your figure inside. And, it's really good for display options if you're somebody that likes to keep it in the package. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. A very, very solid themed figure overall. I do really like it. It has grown on me even more. I feel like I like it more outside of the package than I thought I was going to, especially after playing around with it. I was pleasantly surprised by the articulation and whatnot. So yeah. So let's go ahead and get into size comparisons, and we will end off the review. All right. And again, shout outs to Space Cadets Collection for giving me this figure. They hooked me up with, the Johnny that we looked at yesterday, as well as the Mr. Fantastic. And I don't think they did the Invisible Woman. I still forgot to check, but at least 3 of these, Fantastic Four figures have been provided by Space Cadets Collection on eBay. So thanks to them. Big shout outs to them. And yeah, I think that's a very, fitting name for my toy supplier of Fantastic Four figures. Space Cadets, and all of these guys went to space to get their powers unintentionally, so the irony is something there. But let's go ahead and get him compared with his teammates first up. So we will pull in Mr. Fantastic. This is the Toybiz Bindi Attachments Mr. Fantastic from 2005. Now, I will say that I think this thing figure is a little bit out of scale. He seems just a bit too big because, despite him being like a big guy in the movie, height-wise, he wasn't that much bigger than the rest of the characters like Reed or, Johnny and Sue. He really wasn't that much taller than them, but, in the toy version, I guess, that kind of got a little out of translation. And they definitely made the figure probably a lot bigger than he should be. But, he scales, I would say, pretty okay with Johnny. But, Reed just looks tiny next to him, man. Reed looks like he's getting dwarfed, honestly. It's kind of interesting. I wonder, I think maybe the Wave 2 Mr. Fantastic, the one with the giant fist and the saw blade. I think he actually might scale excuse me, scale a little bit better with these guys. I think it might be just like a little bit bigger of a figure. So yeah, that is something to note. But I do like the sculpt more on this Bendy Attachments one, so that's why I picked him up. But even then, this doesn't look too bad. So here he is with Johnny and Reed. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good, the three of them right there. Let's see if we can squeeze in Sue for the shot. It might be a little difficult, but I want to see if I can get it done, because I would like to see all four at the same time. So move this back. Sue's pretty skinny, thankfully, so she should hopefully fit into the shot. If I put her over here by Johnny, by her bro. Okay, boom. All right, there. So right there in frame, now we have the full Fantastic Four team. And I do think they look pretty good, man. Especially seeing like oh man, I can't talk. Sue and Johnny next to each other. I think that actually looks pretty good. I really like the height comparison between them. I think they scale actually pretty well, pretty accurate to the movie. And then, Reed, he scales all right. I think, yeah, I just realized Reed is actually like one of the smaller characters of this bunch. I think they probably could have upscaled him just a little bit height-wise. But yeah, I think that still looks pretty good. This thing is a pretty big figure, but yeah, I think it works out. It's a very nice movie representation. Nice to see all four of these guys. Again, I think I am going to try to get that Raging Thing figure. But, even as is, I think this is like a really nice representation of him. And like I said, the gimmick doesn't get in the way too much. So that is a, very nice thing to see. But yeah, there's your full Fantastic Four movie team right there. So very, very nice. Now that I have the whole family completed, now I need to get a Doctor Doom and yeah, maybe just like other versions of these characters. But I definitely want to finish off the collection of this movie collection with one of the Doctor Doom figures for sure. So I'll be looking to do that very, very soon. But let's see. Next up, we will compare him with the Hasbro Ares Build-A-Figure Wave Human Torch right here. And on this other side, we'll bring in the this is the Odious figure by Unparalleled Universe. We have Odious the Living Curse right here. So a little bit bigger guy. We got basically Bigfoot or Yeti right here on the side of the thing, and they scale pretty well. I think the thing is actually a little bit bigger, just slightly maybe if you don't count the hood. But they're pretty much like almost in perfect scale as far as like height. And Johnny is obviously the smallest there, but I think that looks pretty good. All right, so moving these guys, we'll bring in the Netflix series Luke Cage, Mike Coulter figure right here by Hasbro. And we will bring in the Sentinel Build-A-Figure Wave Cyclops by Toybiz on this side. Let's see, get them standing a little straighter. Okay, there you go. So there is those two. And give me just a second here, guys. All right, so yeah, I think these guys scale pretty well. This is like a comic version, obviously, of Cyclops, but he does have like that kind of realistic look going, so that is pretty nice. Move the camera a little bit closer so you guys can see that better. But yeah, there you go. And then, Mike Coulter, Luke Cage. I think he fits in all right with the thing. A comic Luke Cage would probably look better. He'd be like a little bigger, more muscular, but for a live action Luke Cage, I think this works out pretty nice. So let's move these guys. And for an SH Figure Arts comparison, we have the SHF Kabuto Rider or Ninja Storm Crimson Thunder. And for Mafex, we have the Into the Spider-Verse Miles Morales right here. And so there we go. You can see Miles is obviously dwarfed by this Thing figure. He looks tiny, both height-wise and, physically. He's very skinny. And then this, this Crimson Thunder Ranger right here is also definitely dwarfed, around the same height as Miles. So there you go. All right, moving them aside, let's get some Lightning Collection. We got the Lightning Collection in Space Black Ranger right here, Mr. Carlos. And then let's see, we will bring in a villain. We've got the Lightning Collection Mesogog right here from Dino Thunder. All right, so there is Mesogog. And yeah, Thing is definitely still the biggest one. He is a pretty tall and a pretty wide figure, so there's your comparison there. All right, moving them out the way. We'll bring in a bigger, or at least a taller scaled figure. We have the Deluxe Mandarin Spawn by McFarlane Toys on this side. Bring it over this way a bit. And then we have the McFarlane Toys DC Rebirth Deathstroke right here. So back this up just a bit. All right, there you go. And you can see him and the Thing, Deathstroke and the Thing, that is, they actually scale pretty nice, I would say Deathstroke is just slightly taller than the Thing, and the Mandarin Spawn is definitely a little bit taller than the Thing here for sure when you count, all of this up here. But yeah, that's how he scales with some bigger characters. So he could actually you could probably squeeze him in with McFarlane Toys if you really wanted to, just because he's so tall, so much taller than like your average, 6-inch figures. He scales a bit bigger. So yeah, he might work out with like your McFarlane collections if you wanted to do something with that. All right, let's see. We'll bring in a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Origins Snake Eyes from Hasbro. And then for another Mafex, we have the Mafex comic style Daredevil. All right, so I think the three of them look pretty nice as well. Let's see, yeah, I think for Daredevil and the Thing, I think that's pretty good scaling actually. And same thing with Snake Eyes, yeah, I think that's not too bad. It's probably about right, so there you go. All right. For Black Series, we'll bring in the Duel's End Darth Vader. All right, so this is the battle damaged Darth Vader from Kenobi by Hasbro. And then we have, let's see, we'll bring in, for another Mafex, we'll bring in the Mark 50 Iron Man from Avengers Infinity War. So there you go. I think they all look pretty nice as well. So very, very good. Pretty nice scaling there. And let's see. For a Jazzwares comparison, we'll bring in the Cyclo figure, the Fortnite Cyclo figure by Jazzwares. Okay. Sorry, move this over a bit. Like that. And then for another Marvel Legends, we have the Maximum Spider-Man right here. And yeah, I think they all scale pretty good. I think that's pretty good scaling right there. What you guys think? All right, not bad, not bad. Let's keep it moving. Let's bring in, for the 5.5-inch Bandai line, we have a Zeltrax right here. Much smaller figure. And then for another, Marvel Legends, we'll bring in the retro card Peter Parker with the Maximum Spider-Man head on. I like to display him actually with that head because I feel like that head sculpt actually fits this body even better than the original one. But yeah, there you go. So that's how they look. Cool. Let's see. Let's finish it off. We've got our Wesley Snipes Toybiz Blade right here. And here's a Lightspeed Rescue Bandai Red Ranger right here. Carter Grayson. All right, so a much shorter figure for sure. But yeah, there you go. Here's your size comparisons. And let's see, we'll finish it off with Batman right here. DC Universe All-Stars Classics Batman, and a Marvel Legends No Way Home Zendaya right here, or Michelle Jones, I should say. And yeah, definitely smaller characters. So there you go. And yeah, that should pretty much wrap it up. I mean, I guess I'll throw in, last but not least, we got Shocker right here from Marvel Legends, and the Black Cat from the Spider-Man Retro card. All right, so boom, boom, boom. Real quick, Ned and Peter from the Hasbro 2-pack, Homecoming 2-pack. Ned's gonna fall backwards, but hopefully you guys get the idea. He's definitely a little shorter there. So boom, yep, there he goes. But yeah, that's it. So that's gonna be the review, guys, on the Toybiz Clobber and Crush thing. Let me actually move some of these guys out the way. Got a pile of figures back here in comparison. But yeah, that is my review on the Toybiz Clobber and Crush thing. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, could you please do your boy a favor? Leave a like on the video, leave comments down below. Any other figures that you want to see me review, whether they be Fantastic Four figures or just, you know, any type of figures, just let me know down below, leave a comment. Do any of you guys, you know, have this figure or one of the other, you know, versions of the thing from this movie line from Toy Biz? I heard I've seen a video, I think there's actually like a smiling variant of this guy, and I was trying to find that guy on eBay, but I guess he's pretty rare, so I couldn't find him, so I just went ahead and picked up the standard release. But yeah, apparently there's like a smiling variant of this Clobber and Crush thing, so you know, if you're a collector, maybe that'll be something of interest to you. But yeah, thank you guys again for watching. Be sure to leave a comment, share the video if you can. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, consider subscribing if you're new. We have a lot more content on the way and a lot of great things coming. A lot more figures to review, a lot of more movies and, you know, comics and a whole bunch of other stuff we're going to be doing on the channel. So appreciate you guys all for watching. Have a great Sunday or whatever day you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next review. Peace out. It's clobbering time. Oops. Yeah.